Hello, SUNY Schenectady Royals. Welcome to Self-Care, Creating Your Plan. In this video, we will discuss different types of self-care and how you can create your own self-care plan. Before we create our own self-care plan, we will want to understand the different types of self-care and the activities you can perform for each type. Although there are only 5 listed in this presentation, there are a few more that we encourage you to research on your own or ask student support staff about. Let's begin with physical self-care. It's exactly what it sounds like, self-care for your physical body. This type of self-care often gets neglected for a few reasons. The first reason is that it doesn't sound like much fun. When you think of physical self-care, your mind may automatically go to exercise, and exercising may not sound fun for many people. And the second reason it gets neglected is because we assume it's covered. If you are someone who does exercise regularly and consumes a healthy diet, you may think that your physical self-care is being met. While you are taking care of yourself, remember that physical self-care is more than just exercising and eating right. It also includes drinking plenty of water, getting enough sleep, and going to the doctors for routine checkups. Next, we have mental self-care. Your mental health is just as important as your physical health. It's about keeping your brain active and remaining more positive than negative. It tends to get overlooked because the results aren't as tangible as those you get from physical self-care. Try meditation, reading a book, learning about a subject that interests you, and practicing self-compassion. These are all ways to meet your mental self-care. Let's move on to social self-care. This type of self-care prioritizes socialization and friendships. Connecting with others is important to our overall well-being. The benefit of this type of self-care is that it can be tailored to suit your specific needs. If you are someone who is more introverted, you may benefit from one-on-one interaction and may need to socialize less frequently, while someone who is on the extroverted side may need their social needs more through larger group gatherings and may need to socialize more frequently. Wherever you fall on this spectrum, you can meet your social self-care by hanging out with close friends, attending social events, or being a part of a group on campus. Now let's look at emotional self-care. This type of self-care is all about your feelings. The purpose of this self-care is to be able to cope with your feelings and find ways to feel less overwhelmed by them. Practice this type of self-care by going to therapy, talking to a trusted friend, and ending toxic or unhealthy relationships. Lastly, we have spiritual self-care. This is all about having a deeper sense of connection, meaning, or understanding of the universe. Spiritual self-care may or may not be a religious practice for you. You can determine your values, read books about spirituality or various religions, spend more time in nature, or attend a religious service. These are all great ways to fill our spiritual self-care needs. Now that we have some definitions and activities associated with each type of self-care, we can move on to creating our own self-care plan. Remember that creating a self-care plan is an individualized practice. There is no one-size-fits-all. The key is to determine what works for you. You can start your plan by asking yourself the following questions. The first question is, what do I value? What you value can determine your decisions and habits. When you don't practice self-care, your habits and values tend to become out of sync. It's best to start by making a list of your values. This may be family, friends, your job or hobbies, education, or travel. Next, ask yourself, what self-care habits do I already practice? Consider the different types of self-care. These could be the ones we discussed earlier, or maybe you want to consider some that weren't covered in this video. Regardless, you will want to identify self-care habits you already practice. If your list is short, don't worry. You are heading in the right direction. Lastly, ask yourself, what self-care activities do I want to practice? Taking your list of values and considering the different types of self-care, make a list of self-care activities you would like to practice for each type. Your list may be extensive. However, you will want to choose only one or two habits. You will want to decide when and how often you will do these activities. Maybe you have chosen meditation for your mental self-care and plan to utilize this strategy for times when you are stressed or anxious. Maybe your plan is to practice meditation 3 times a week, no matter what emotion you are feeling. Once you have answered these questions and you have chosen one or two habits you would like to practice, be sure you commit to your practice and measure your progress. Setting a daily, weekly, or monthly goal for your practice can keep you motivated and committed to your self-care plan. You can keep track of your habits by journaling or using an app that tracks your progress. Let's look at an example on the next slide. A colleague of ours created this self-care plan, and let us share it with you so that you have an example you can refer to. We've listed their values, self-care habits they currently use, and self-care habits they would like to use. This list was extensive, but they settled on committing to practicing yoga regularly and spending more time in nature. We've written down their goals and the steps they need to take and the resources they may need to complete these goals. They have already begun their commitment to practicing yoga every 30 days. They've already identified obstacles to their commitment and have come up with solutions. We encourage you to do the same for your plans. For instance, they do yoga after work. However, they know that Thursdays after work they have another commitment. So they now wake up early on Thursday mornings to ensure yoga is done that day before work so that they don't miss a day. They have been tracking their progress by journaling. We know there are plenty of apps out there that can help you track your progress as well. Here are some suggested apps you may want to check out. Although some are for tracking habits, we've also included apps to promote self-care. You may pause the video here to make note of some of the apps you want to check out. This concludes our video on developing a self-care plan. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to contact student support staff for support with creating your own plan. If you want to learn more strategies to help you succeed in college, check out the other videos from Student Support Services posted on SUNY Schenectady's Tips and Strategies for Student Success webpage. Look at the bottom of this slide or in the YouTube description of this video for the link to this webpage. And of course, be sure to meet with student support staff to discuss personalized success strategies to help you reach your educational goals.